and are dubious as to their meaning. When, however, none of the above mentioned opportunities occur, interrogation must not be employed. For if it should happen that the opponent answers properly, and eludes the interrogation, he who interrogates will appear to be vanquished. For many questions must not be asked on account of the imbecility of the mind of the auditor. Hence it is especially necessary that enthymemes should be contracted. It is likewise requisite to reply to ambiguous questions by logically dividing, and not speaking concisely. But to things apparently true, a solution must immediately be given with the answer before the opponent can add a second interrogation, or syllogize. For it is not difficult to foresee what he wishes to infer. This, however, and the solutions, i.e. the mode of avoiding and solving captious interrogations, will be manifest to us from the topics. If the question also of the opponent produces a conclusion against us, it will be opportune in the answer to assign the cause why it does so. Thus Sophocles being asked by Pisander whether he was of the opinion of the other senators that a dominion of 40 persons should be established, he replied that he was. And when he was asked again, Does not this appear to you to be a base thing? He said, it does. Have you therefore, Pisander replied, given your assent to this base deed? I have, said Sophocles, for no better measure could be adopted. Thus too, that Lacon, who had been an Ephorus or senator, when he was desired to give an account of his conduct while he was in administration, was asked by some one, whether his colleagues appeared to him to have been justly condemned. He replied, they did. But the other then said, Did not you also decree the same things together with them? He acknowledged that he did. Is it not therefore just, the other replied, that you should be put to death? By no means, said Lacon, for they did these things having received money for doing them, but I did not, since my conduct was the result of my own judgment. Hence, neither is it proper to interrogate after the conclusion, nor to interrogate concerning the conclusion itself, unless much truth is contained in it. With respect to ridicule, however, since it appears to possess a certain use in contests, and it is necessary, as Gorgias rightly said, that the serious arguments of the opponent should be dissolved by laughter, and his laughter by serious arguments, we have shown in the Poetic how many species of ridicule there are. But of these species, one indeed is adapted to a liberal man, and another is not. The orator therefore must assume that species of ridicule which is adapted to the occasion. Irony, however, is more liberal than scurrility. For he who employs irony produces the ridiculous for his own sake, but he who employs scurrility for the sake of another person. CHAPTER XIX. Epilogue, however, or peroration, is composed from 4 things. From that which may cause the auditor to think well of the orator and ill of his opponent, from amplification and extenuation, from that which may excite the passions of the auditor, and from recalling to the memory what has been said. For it is natural after demonstration for the orator to show that what he has asserted is true, and that what his opponent has said is false, and thus to praise and blame and conciliate the good opinion of the audience. But of 2 things it is requisite that the orator should direct his attention to one of them, viz. Either to show that he is good to the audience, or that he is simply a worthy man, and that his opponent is bad to the audience, or that he is simply a bad man. We have shown, however, what the places are from which things of this kind are to be derived, viz. Whence it may be inferred that men are worthy or depraved. In the next place it is requisite to amplify or extenuate according to nature what has now been demonstrated. For it is necessary that it should be acknowledged a thing has been done, if the orator intends to speak of its magnitude. For the increase of bodies is from pre existent substances. But we have already shown whence the places of amplification and extenuation are to be derived. After these things, however, since it is evident what their quality and quantity are, the orator should excite the passions of the auditor. But these are pity and indignation, anger and hatred, envy, emulation, and contention. And we have before shown the places of these. Hence it remains that in the peroration the orator should recall into the memory of the audience what has been before said. But this is to be done in such a way as others improperly teach us to do in proems. For that a thing may be easily understood, they order us to repeat it frequently. In proems, indeed, it is necessary to speak of the thing which is the subject of discussion, lest the audience should be ignorant what that is which is to be decided. But here in peroration, the arguments which have been employed must be summarily repeated. The beginning, however, of the peroration should be, that the orator has accomplished what he promised, so that he must then explain what those things are of which he has spoken, and on what account they were discussed by him. But the repetition should be made from a comparison of what has been said by the opponent. And it is requisite to compare either such things as have been said on the same subject, both by the orator and his opponent, or such things as have not been said by both of them on the same subject, as, And he indeed said this on the subject, but I that, and for these reasons. Or the repetition should be made from irony, as, For he said this, but I that. And, What would he have done if he had shown that those things were transacted, and not these ? Or from interrogation, as, What has not been shown ? Or thus, What has the opponent shown ? Either, therefore, the repetition must be thus made, or it must be made from comparison, or the orator must repeat in a natural order what he has said. And again, if he is so inclined, he may repeat what his opponent has said. That mode of diction, however, is adapted to the conclusion of the oration, which is called disjunctive, in order that it may be an epilogue, and not an oration ; such as, I have said, you have heard, you are masters of the subject, judge for yourselves. End of Book 3, and end of Rhetoric, by Aristotle, translated by Thomas Taylor. Recording in memory of Mitchell, Edwards.